data and specifically identity is at the core of what Roku does. And specifically, as a consumer-facing company, it's a very interesting position to be in, because one of the things I talk about a lot with our partners is how sacrosanct that relationship is with our consumers. When you buy a Roku, you provide a lot of information, your first name, last name, etc., and that relationship is sort of what drives our both our identity, but how we exchange value with our consumers, and we bring that to bear with our advertisers, because we're specifically well situated in the industry and in the space, being a leader in CTV, to have that relationship and to be able to bring targeting at a much more deterministic level based on those relationships than you find in the industry generally.
So Ziggy, we've spoken about addressable TV for a million years, it seems, and it was limited to the couple of minutes in local and cable, and that's completely changed. What does addressable mean? I don't even know if you use that term, but what does addressable advertising mean at Roku?
Yeah, it's funny, we tend not to use that word. I think it sort of came out of the history of linear and sort of understanding, essentially mapping a lot of digital concepts to linear television at the time, right, to be able to address a specific audience, and sort of that's what the core of CTV and the sort of value proposition has always been. In the beginning we liked to say all TV will be streamed, and then we sort of evolved and said all TV advertising will be streamed. And part of that concept of streaming, or I should say one of the major components of streaming, is that we know who the consumer is, and so we're able to target specific audiences and make that advertising relevant for those audiences, effective and relevant at the right time, serving it to the right person at the right time, etc., based on real information that we have, again, based on that relationship that we have with the consumer.
So Ziggy, there's a lot of talk about attention, performance, closing the loop. How do you guys manage that?
Good question. TV, and specifically CTV, kind of serves a lot of different purposes, right? So for us, we can serve people and sort of serve our advertisers if they're looking for top of the funnel or bottom of the funnel metrics. And we're sort of in the early stages of some of those performance-oriented measurement components from a bottom of the funnel perspective. We're doing a lot with retail media, we're doing a lot with various measurement companies to sort of prove out the thesis that you can really, depending on what your goals are, you can really hit that. It's evolving, but it does actually go back all the way to our identity and our ability to understand who's watching and sort of which households are watching and who's been served with those ads, and then sort of tie it back together to outcomes through some of our partnerships that we have. Kroger Precision Marketing is a good example of one of those partnerships where we have access to sort of unique data, and from a measurement perspective, we're able to prove the value and the lift for a lot of our advertisers based on what they've seen and where they've gone to shop based on Kroger's wealth of data. So.
And Ziggy, finally, we hear a lot about shoppable video, and Roku is kind of on the bleeding edge of that, doing a lot of innovative work. That also proves the closed loop, but what's the prospect for shoppable video, and how are you guys powering it, and how do you see that developing?
Yeah, one of the interesting things about being at Roku specifically is we're kind of developing a lot of the technology and a lot of the new ad formats. So we have a lot of new and innovative ad formats to help drive, shoppable being one of them, to drive performance. And I think one of the interesting things is we're really leaning in with our advertisers to be able to test and understand, with them what's been working. We have our perspectives that we can bring to the table based on sort of our information, based on our experience in the space and sort of how things have developed and how we view, the interaction with a TV, which is very different from a mobile device, et cetera. And so we're working really closely with our advertisers to, help them achieve their goals and understand what's working. But at the same time, I will say one of the biggest things that we focus on is the consumer experience, right? Because again, it goes back to being in people's living rooms and being in the household and having that relationship with a consumer, to make sure that they're having a great experience. So.